What if one of the most powerful blood thinning and artery protective compounds in the world wasn't a drug, but a food? A compound that not only rivals aspirin, but also connects to nitric oxide signaling, immune cytotoxicity, platelet behavior, inflammation pathways like COX-1 and COX-2, and even oxidized LDL, foam cell formation inside arteries. At the center of this system is something surprisingly simple, which is omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA. But to understand why this works, we first need to break down what actually causes heart attacks and strokes at the biochemical level. Most people think heart attacks are just cholesterol clogging pipes, but in reality, around 80% of heart attacks and strokes come from clot formation, not slow plaque buildup alone. So what happens inside your arteries is red blood cells carry oxygen, white blood cells manage immune defense, platelets act like emergency glue cells that respond to injury. When triggered, platelets activate and bind together, forming a clot, and this is where thromboxane signaling and CD44 mediated platelet adhesion pathways can amplify aggregation and even contribute to what some researchers describe as vascular cloaking effects in disease states. Now add oxidized LDL into the system, and OXLDL for short enters vessel walls. It transforms macrophages, which are a part of the immune system, into foam cells, and then foam cells accelerate plaque instability. Inflammation increases via COX-1 and COX-2 enzyme activity. So this is no longer just clogging, it's an active inflammatory and immune-driven vascular process. Okay, now why heart attacks happen in the morning? Nearly 50% of heart attacks occur between 6 a.m. and noon. And why is that? Because in the morning, cortisol rises sharply, adrenaline increases, blood pressure spikes, and then platelet aggregation becomes more likely. These hormones can increase clot formation risk by enhancing platelet responsiveness and reducing fibrinolytic balance, which is the body's ability to break clots via plasminogen activation. This also connects to stress biology, what's sometimes called broken heart syndrome, where extreme emotional stress can drastically increase cardiovascular risk. Now, aspirin has been used for thousands of years in various forms and widely used for cardiovascular protective drugs, and it works by inhibiting COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, therefore reducing thromboxane production and lowering platelet aggregation, having a blood thinning effect. But aspirin, it can come with risks such as bleeding complications, ulcers, and intracranial bleeding risk in some populations. So can food modulate the same pathways more safely? Possibly yes. Now, the natural alternative is omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA, acts like a biological regulator of clot formation. So instead of breaking clots after they form like aspirin, EPA works upstream, makes platelets less sticky, reduces inflammatory signaling, competes with arachidonic acid pathways affecting COX-1, COX-2 balance, and stabilizing arterial plaque. In some studies, EPA has been shown comparable anti-clot effects to low-dose aspirin, reduced plaque instability, and reduced cardiovascular events, which is a 25% reduction in some 2019 trials. EPA also affects stress hormones and immune function. So, because EPA also influences neuroendocrine and immune pathways by reducing cortisol and adrenaline levels, improves stress resilience, indirectly lowers clot risk from hormonal surges. This connects deeply to immune function. By lowering stress hormones, this also improves NK cell cytotoxicity, or natural killer cells. Also, better immune synapse formation involving the PSMAC. If you've seen my other videos on the PSMAC, you already know what I'm talking about. Feel free to see those videos if you haven't yet. So PSMAC is short for Peripheral Supramolecular Activation Complex, and it leads to involved immune surveillance against abnormal cells. And interestingly, this links cardiovascular health with immune regulation. So some of the best sources of EPA are salmon, which I've talked about in other videos, also mackerel, sardines, which there could be some problems with sardines, according to Paul Saladino on YouTube, but I will have to cover that in a different video. Also, other sources of EPA are fatty fish in general and also fish oil supplements. But one source stands out as biologically more complete, which is cod liver and cod liver oil. So cod liver oil doesn't just provide EPA, it also provides vitamin A or retinol, supporting epithelial tissue repair, including vascular lining, reducing inflammation in arterial walls, since inflammation to begin with was why macrophages turn into foam cells, and also vitamin A influences early stage plaque stability. Cod liver also provides vitamin D, and vitamin D has been shown in research to strongly influence endothelial nitric oxide production, arterial flexibility and reduced stiffness, reduced inflammation in vascular tissue, and plaque stabilization. Now, nitric oxide is required for the immune system, so low vitamin D is associated with worse cardiovascular outcomes, partly through impaired endothelial function. Cod liver also provides vitamin K2, helps regulate calcium deposition, reduces arterial calcification risk, and works synergistically with vitamin D. Now, testosterone, the male hormone can enhance nitric oxide production. So nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels, and then improved nitric oxide improves endothelial function. And better nitric oxide levels also supports reduced platelet adhesion, improved blood flow, and enhanced immune cell trafficking. So testosterone is not only good for the heart, but also for the immune system. And in immune biology, nitric oxide supports NK cell cytotoxicity, or natural killer cells. Those are the cells that target tumors. So T levels and nitric oxide are great for the immune system. Also, nitric oxide enhances immune synapse efficiency, including PSMAC formation. Now, you already know that tumors, they hate PSMAC because PSMAC is the end of the tumor, and nitric oxide improves pathogen and abnormal cell clearance. Okay, when LDL becomes oxidized, it is taken up by macrophages, forms foam cells, increases inflammatory cytokines, activates COX pathways, and promotes plaque instability. At the same time, platelets can become more active and express adhesion signaling involving CD44 and thromboxane pathways, contributing to clot formation and vascular obstruction risk. Now, tumors, with the help of CD44 and thromboxane, tumors can hide from the immune system, and tumors hide from immune surveillance with platelets. So platelets, they cover the tumor, and the platelets kind of become like a shield or an armor all over the tumor, protecting tumors from immune cell attack, while the tumor floats around in the bloodstream or travels around in the bloodstream.